Welcome to episode 4 of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel. This is a show about Chicago Bears, talk by Chicago Bears fan. So today's topic, we're looking at John Fox and should he be fired? And right now I'm going to tell you yes. The answer is yes. I do think he should be fired. But I want to be fair and we want to go through and kind of look at what has he done for the Chicago Bears since he's been here. Now, one of the main reasons I say that he should be fired is because I didn't want to hire him in the first place. When they first talked about John Fox, I didn't want him because I said he was a bridge coach. Much like a bridge quarterback, he was going to come in, he was going to clean things up a little bit. He was definitely going to put us on a more professional level, but he was never going to be the guy to get us over the hump. And so if you look at John Fox, he's had success with, successful teams, but at the same time, he never, created that success, so to speak. He kind of inherited some talent. And he does build a certain type of attitude on defense and stuff like that. But John Fox is definitely a guy that I think was better suited as a coordinator. And he really wasn't the guy to kind of turn over a franchise that was really in a bad place. So with that being said, kind of looking at the positives and what did he do for the Bears? So number one, he brought professionalism, as I mentioned before. And professionalism meaning that we don't have a defense lining up or playing the wrong gaps. We don't have an offense that doesn't know what the plays are or don't know what the formations are. We got players that actually are playing like they care. And I think for the most part, you contribute that on the defensive side. But overall, I'm talking about where we came from with Mark Trestman. And although the records have been great, people do tend to forget how bad it really was. With Mark Trestman's regime, we were a laughing stock, an absolute laughing stock. And so from that standpoint, just having players come out and trying to do their job and actually have a sense of care that about the product that they're putting on the field. And so that's number one. And then also, like I said, the identity he kind of installed. Not just, we're actually going to look like professional football players, but we're going to have an attitude about us on defense. We're actually we are going to play like we're the top dogs on the team. And they are because of talent, but it wasn't always that way. They said, with John Fox, hey, we're going to play like the game depends on us. Like we're the ones that's going to win the games for the Bears. And for the most part, definitely now they are the reason we win games and stay in games because they play with that type of attitude that we're going to fly around and we're going to have, pursuit to the ball. So that's definitely something that John Fox brought to the team. Oh man. I mean, and those are big things. Honestly, I can't sit here and list a whole list of different things he brought, but those are really big things when we're talking about football as far as the attitude and just, knowing how to do your job and coaching people up and holding them to standards that we don't look like a high school team out here like we did with Trestman, where it was just all over the place and people in the same gaps, people not lining up correctly, blown coverages all the time. And we have miscues with our defense now, but at the same time, we don't have the 50-point blowout miscues like we used to before. And even still offensively, I do think he's hurt the offense more than he has helped it. But again, just the overall attitude of we're a professional team. Yes, we're rebuilding, but we're not going to come out here looking like a high school team. So then talking about some of the negatives. The biggest negative that you can probably lobby against John Fox is his management of the game. And he was never a great manager. Even in coming off from Denver, I was like, he's not a great manager. And so that's definitely one where I'm like, okay, we can't we can't be surprised by that because he never was good at that. And, again, this is one of the reasons I think he might make a better coordinator is because that's something that you got to be good at, whether it's taking challenges, taking timeouts. There's a lot of controversy about him letting the 49ers score the last game or letting them kick a field goal and blah, blah, blah. Either way, I think, he would have been ripped for either decision, but it's just like things like that people are going to hone in on when you don't make good decisions handling the clock and really making situational decisions. Same thing like Dan Quinn with the Falcons last year in the Super Bowl. It's like, okay, you got a real gross mishandling of the clock. And it's easy for people in hindsight to sit here and say stuff. And the moment is tough. And I can say that as a coach, like the best thing about a coach, a lot of people is like, oh, well, they can just teach. They're a great coach. Or they can draw plays. The best thing about a coach is being able to adjust in the moment. And that is not easy. So I'm not giving him a pass, but I'm saying that's something he's not good at. And we have not been good at with this team, whether it's, running when we should be passing and all those different things come down to John Fox. And so again, we're a professional team. We don't have like all the headlines that we used to about, fighting in the coaching staff, fighting within the players, all that good stuff. It's more professional. But as far as the game, he has not been really good with that. Now, sticking with the offense, kind of like I said before, I think we're hampered by John Fox. And I said this when I was talking about Trubisky, is that Darryl Loggins, I think, is smart. I think he's creative. But I don't think the identity and pride of John Fox has allowed Darryl Loggins to actually do what he does. And so he might get fired as a result. But I don't think it's his fault. I think it's more John Fox saying, hey, I don't trust rookies. I don't even like airing it out. I want to be a power run team first. That's the identity I want to have. Power run and good defense. And so that I think has pigeonholed people. And so the number one thing you'll probably realize if you watch the Bears a lot is that our offensive, we still run the ball heavy, but some of our power schemes have turned into zone stretch schemes this year. And I think that has been absolutely horrible because already it's a 50-50 shot when you run zone stretch. But it's a lower than 50-50 shot when your running back doesn't have a lot of speed. So Jordan Howard a lot of times gets hits behind the line. And so we're playing behind the chains and making it second and long, third and long when we should be gaining positive yards when we go downhill. Now, some of that is the injuries with Kyle Long, his shoulder, he can't pull, sitting isn't fast enough to pull, all those good things. But at the same time, when you limit your offense to power run, the only way for the offensive coordinator to be creative is to change up the run schemes. Since they won't let them air it out, then the only creativity you have is in different runs. And overall, it don't matter how fancy you make it when you run all the time, especially when you aren't going downhill. It's just tough for the offense to be effective. So I do think John Fox has definitely hampered us in that way. And then one thing I'll say, which I hate to say, but it is worth bringing up, is that he makes the Bears a little unlikable. So everybody on the radio and the media complains about how the Bears are unlikable to the media because John Fox does coach speak and he doesn't tell you anything and he's not friendly, blah, blah, blah. You know who that sounds like? Sounds like Bill Belichick to me. And so when's the last time you heard about somebody firing or thinking about firing Bill Belichick because the media doesn't like him? Winning cures all in sports, especially football. So I don't want to hear all this about how he treats the media, because the fact is, if he was winning, you'd be kissing his feet. You wouldn't care. Now, what I will say is when you're losing, people find ways to pick at you And that is a thing. So, you don't have big personalities as a coach like a Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan hanged around for a long time, losing bad, but he was such a big personality and he was so, cool with the media. People love that stuff. At least the fans had something to like about him. Fox, nobody likes him. Nobody likes him. They don't like the Bears. They don't like the way they run things. And all that comes down to Fox. Fox makes those decisions. He tells down, the media they can't watch certain practices. He's the one that doesn't give the fans much to hope for. All those good things. Now, for me as a coach, I could care less, but that's definitely a knock. You gotta say the Bears are less likable. Now, Trestman, he wasn't the same way, but Trestman was just such a goof that you hated him because of that. Now, Fox is more just a douchebag, so it is different. But definitely I would say that's a knock against Fox. And so that's really it. You can't, say too much that definitively is Fox's fault. A lot of it could be GM, with roster and this and that. But those are some of the things you definitely can attribute to Fox. So if you look at the positives versus the negative, all in all, I still say he should be fired, as I mentioned before. And again, don't get me wrong. I'm used to the Trestman, to the circus, like waking up early in the morning, listening to Mike and Mike laugh at us because we got blown out and everybody's making fun of Chicago. So I'm glad that is gone. I am so glad that is gone. We're not good, but we're not horrible. And so I got what I expected from Fox. So if you look at it, in Fox's first year, we went 6-10. And so 6 wins, which sounds nice right about now. But if you look at it closer, our margin of, defeat, if you will, our average margin of defeat was 9 points. A lot of people forget this. We played the AFC West that year for our outer division. And the AFC West not only had the emerging Super Bowl champs, but we also had a lot of good teams. And we beat all but one of them. We beat the Chiefs. We beat the Chargers. We beat the Raiders. And then we lost to the Denver Broncos by a 2-point conversion. We were tied in that game. A last second 2-point conversion is what gave them the win. And they won the Super Bowl that year. So we were more than competitive. Like right now we're competitive still. People say, yeah, the Bears can hang around. They're going to fight. And you've seen that. We almost beat the Falcons, should have. We beat the Steelers. We beat the Panthers. We fight. And that's what John Fox has brought to the team. And the first year was evidence. People were like, man, we're 6-10. We make the playoffs. But I'm like, dude, we barely lost most of these games. A play here or there, we could have been winners. We could have easily been 9-7 or more. And that's without a roster that, at the time was really messed up. And so John Fox brought exactly what I thought he would bring. He brought professionalism. He made us look like an NFL team. But that's not enough. And then John Fox with some other problems has made it into a bad issue. So I do think he should be fired. But again, I thought that should have been the case in the beginning. And he should have never been hired. But it's not an indictment just on John Fox. There's definitely other problems with the Bears, and we'll get to the other pieces later. But just looking at the coaching staff, I think they hired a really good staff. I think John Fox definitely is a veteran that put this team back in the right mindset, but we're not on the right track. And it's not going to be him that changes things for us. So I would say he has to go. Anyway, go to the comment section. Please let me know your thoughts on John Fox. You know, I know a lot of people don't like him. They want him fired just because of the records, but let's go deeper than that. Do you think he has helped the team since he has been here? Has he hurt them since Trestman left? Comment, thumbs up, subscribe, trying to grow the channel, share it out with everybody. And then, yeah, thank you for listening.